In the middle of one of history's most brutal forms of execution, the first words spoken weren't cries of pain or curses of anger. They were something else entirely. Today, we're diving into a text that really unpacks the profound meaning behind the first three sayings of Jesus from the cross.
So the analysis we're looking at really hinges on this one core idea. The point is that the crucifixion isn't seen as some random, terrible tragedy. Instead, it's framed as a deliberate act, something that was foretold in Scripture. This concept that it all had a purpose is the foundation for everything else we're about to explore. Now, to really grasp the weight of these sayings, the source material first walks us through the absolutely brutal journey to the cross. And here's a really fascinating detail the source points out. Usually, Roman law gave a condemned prisoner 10 days, a 10-day reprieve to get their affairs in order. But Jesus was denied this. He was immediately forced into what the text calls a procession of shame, carrying his own cross through the city. Okay, this next moment is absolutely crucial. The source highlights that he was offered a drink, something like a narcotic to numb the pain, and he refused it. The interpretation here isn't that this was about being tough. It was a conscious choice to feel the full weight of it all, to, as the text says, truly pay the price for humanity's sins. So you have to picture the scene. The source paints this vivid tableau by breaking the crowd down into three distinct groups. First, you've got the Roman soldiers. For them, it's just another day at the office, total indifference. Then you have the religious officials, filled with hatred, actively mocking him. And finally, his followers, watching from a distance, their hearts just completely breaking. You see the whole spectrum of human reaction right there.
And it's right in the middle of this intense, chaotic scene, this storm of pain, hatred, and sorrow, that we hear the very first saying from the cross.
Now, the source makes such a powerful point here. I mean, think about it. Normally, men being crucified would be screaming, cursing their executioners. But the first words out of Jesus' mouth are not a curse, but a prayer. And it's a prayer for the very people who are killing him.
And that leads to the big question the text wants us to think about. Why was this prayer so shocking, so completely counterintuitive to every human instinct in that kind of moment?
Well, according to the source, its revolutionary power comes down to a few things. First, it was just unheard of. Nobody did this. Second, notice the tenderness of the word Father, even in the midst of unimaginable agony. Third, it showed this incredible concern for others when he was the one suffering. And finally, the text argues that when he says they do not know what they're doing, he's talking about a specific kind of ignorance, an ignorance blinded by their own pride and unbelief.
All right, let's move on to the second saying. This one completely shifts the focus, and according to the source, it becomes this powerful, real-time lesson on the nature of salvation.
Here, we get this stark contrast. It's like a split screen. You have these two criminals crucified with Jesus, and they represent two totally different responses to him. One guy joins in with the mockers, basically saying, if you're so great, get us out of this. But the other one, he actually defends Jesus, admitting he deserves his punishment, but that Jesus is innocent.
And this is the turning point. The repentant thief makes this simple, incredibly humble plea. The source points out that this isn't a bargain, it's a pure act of faith. He's acknowledging Jesus as a king who has a kingdom that exists beyond this horrible death.
And wow, the response is immediate and absolute. The source puts huge emphasis on that one word, today. Not in a little while, not after some waiting period or purgatory, today. The promise is for right now.
So the source basically breaks this whole interaction down into a crystal clear, three-step model of salvation. Step 1, you acknowledge your own situation, your own sin. The thief admits he deserves to be there. Step 2, you proclaim faith in who Jesus is. And step 3, you receive grace, an immediate promise of paradise.
So for this third saying, the camera pulls in, The focus shifts from the divine and the eternal right back down to the deeply human. It's about responsibility and care.
And the source reminds us of something absolutely heartbreaking. There was a prophecy made to his mother Mary when Jesus was just an infant, that one day a sword would pierce her soul. Well, here she is, standing at the foot of the cross, watching her son die. This is that horrific prophecy coming true. The grief is just unimaginable. And even in that state of complete agony, the source points out that he still sees his mother, he sees her pain, and he uses some of his final breaths to make sure she'll be taken care of, creating this new family bond right there on the spot between her and his disciple John.
So this isn't just a touching personal moment.
The source presents it as a final, powerful lesson in what's called filial piety, this fundamental duty to honor and care for your parents, a responsibility that doesn't just end, it endures right up to the very point of death.
So, after going through these first 3 sayings, what is the ultimate lesson? What does the source want us to take away from all this?
It all boils down to this. The author concludes that true power, real strength, isn't found in might or authority or getting even. The ultimate strength, the kind demonstrated in that very first prayer for forgiveness, is the strength of love.
And this isn't just some philosophical, feel-good idea. The source draws a direct line from this display of love on the cross to the later conversion of thousands of people. It argues that witnessing this, hearing about this incredible prayer for forgiveness, is what began to crack open even the hardest of hearts.
And so, the text leaves us with this final thought. It takes this ancient, profound story and turns it back to us, posing a timeless question for our own lives. When we face injustice, when we face suffering, what does it truly mean to wield the strength of love and forgiveness?